Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer. It is time for some talk about Path of Exile. Now, you'll notice I haven't been playing that much lately. That's been because of all of the various crashes I've been having. Basically, whenever I've been running the game, roughly every 6th to 8th map, I've been crashing to desktop once. It's meant that a whole lot of things that I would rather be doing, like farming breachstones, hasn't been working. And so I've just been getting more and more frustrated with the game. However, that said, I'm going to assume that those problems are going to get fixed. I want to talk about some of the problems I've sort of noticed with the Legion League that haven't really started undermining it yet. I wanted to start with this really positive feedback thread that was put on Reddit by Reddit poster Nestle Overlords. And what they're talking about here is how they've really enjoyed the basic concepts of the Legion League, and that the thing that's spoiling it for them is the server status. So their post reads, just like everyone else here, I felt the need to express my opinion. GGG really needed a win after Betrayal and Synthesis. Betrayal had great numbers because of the whole BlizzCon fiasco and D3 refugees, but it still wasn't a great league. Here I agree. I think that Betrayal actually was a pretty terrible league. I would regard it as the worst league other than Bestiary in the 3.x series. Then came Synthesis, and well, it was good after the patch, but still far from what is Legion. Legion is badass. I really hope GGG can iron out everything over the next day or two, because it feels like they're hemorrhaging players for terrible reasons: server instability, game instability, various bugs, etc. And that, as I say, that's the reason that I've played so little, that I've only got my gems to level 20 once, which I think is a good indication of the amount that you're playing. Now, obviously for a lot of players, getting gems to level 20 is a huge, sort of a whole of league goal. But for people that play a lot, it's something that you tend to reach. It's a thing that you will tend to reach maybe on average 3 times in a fortnight of play. You'll get your gems up to level 20 and then start leveling other ones. Of course, some people will level in powers or enhancers or enlightens instead. But if you're just leveling standard gems to level 20 that take about 300 million XP to get there, then it's a good measure as to how fast you're going. Just wanted to express that the core mechanic of Legion with the loot and varied items from previous leagues is amazing, and you guys did a good job of developing it. That part I'm going to agree with. GGG, take my energy. Anyways, so I want to respond with a problem that I don't think has come up yet, but that I think is going to really dominate the Legion metagame over time. Now, I found this with my character. I've had a pretty weak start to this league, as well as all of the crashes. I've been playing a build that hasn't really worked, and I haven't got around to changing it as yet. Anyways, my Glacial Hammer build is functioning acceptably in high yellow and low red maps at the moment. And when I say functioning acceptably, I'm talking sort of 5 to 6 minute slow to methodical clears, followed by a minute in the boss room. So basically, it's certainly not dominating those tiers at all. It is just getting completions. Alternately, it's capable of taking on your low tier maps, your white tier maps 1 to 5. It's capable of doing them pretty fast, like 90 to 120 seconds sort of time range. So what I'm finding with Legion is that if I'm running, let's say, a tier 8 map, which is at the upper limit of what I can do at any sort of speed, when I come to the Legion monolith, I'm finding that I'm not able to break much out at all. On the flip side, if I go to a tier 2 map and just elk and go and then find the monolith, I'm able to break a lot of it out, and I'm able to get quite a lot of loot out of it. What I'm feeling here is that the game mechanics are compelling me to play lower tier maps. This, in a lot of ways, is like what was happening during the Betrayal League. And this is the reason that I think Betrayal is the worst league, save for Bestiary in recent memory. And that was that if you weren't playing low tier maps as fast as possible, or as people later would discover in Betrayal, it wasn't even low tier maps, it was story zones, although that's not the case in Legion. If you weren't playing low tier content as fast as possible, you felt like you were seriously sabotaging your ability to generate wealth in the league. And I think that's been the same in the Legion League so far. I keep feeling that every minute that I spend in a tier 8 map breaking out only 10% of the Legion encounter is time that should have been spent instead going and doing a low tier map faster and getting most of the Legion encounter. For people that haven't been doing many of the Legion encounters, I would suggest doing these while you're leveling if you're capable of doing them. There's a number of different rewards that they drop. One of the things that's interesting is the various incubators. These are a new mechanic where these are like an additional tier of enchanting an item, but they're temporary and they last for a certain number of kills. And then at the end of that number of kills, you receive the reward that's listed there. So, for instance, the Eldritch Incubator, these seem to only drop in monster level, or at least from, I'm not sure if it's from monster level 80 plus zones, or whether it's from monster level 78 plus zones, but only from monsters that can drop level 80 loot. So that'd mean rare monsters in tier 11 maps, magic monsters in tier 12, and normal monsters in tier 13. Or it might just be tier 13 and up, normally. But anyways, Eldritch Incubators will cause you to drop an Elder map, a random Elder map. So, if you're lucky, you could get something that's in demand, like an Elder Spider Forest or an Elder Tower. And if you're unlucky, you could get something like an Elder Cells map. But in any case, there's something people will want to get. And these require 14,854 kills. Generally speaking, that's about 20 maps. So you stick this on an item, and then 20 maps later, as long as you're still wearing that same item, you'll receive your reward. In any case, some of these are really common and really good. The Obscured Incubators, these drop a lot. They drop breach stones quite often. Someone did a bit of testing, not a scientifically significant sample size, but enough to draw some conclusions, and it seems 50% of the time you get about 9 breach splinters, that's the bogey prize, and 50% of the time you get a full breach stone, which might be a standard breach stone, or it might be one of the 3 upgraded tiers. This is part of the reason that if you have a look at, again, this is the PoE.Ninja trade aggregation website, you see just how cheap all of the enriched and charged breach stones are, particularly things like Chayula's charged breach stone, only 67.4 chaos at the moment. Esh's pure breach stones 45. These are still absurd for XP. Not as much as they were in Betrayal. They have been nerfed, but they weren't nerfed very hard. And then at the cheap end, you'll have the absolute madness that is Zoth's charged breach stones for 10C and Esh's charged breach stones for 5C. Esh's ones were 4 before I did a video on why they were so worthwhile running, but I think the supply of them is so high that they're not going to go higher than 5. And in any case, these drop from various monsters, and with the exception of the Eldritch Incubator, they're not very sensitive to the zone level in terms of the quality of loot you get. So for instance, a Time Lost Incubator, which is the best of the incubators, this drops a league-specific unique. All you need is the zone level to be high enough for a Headhunter to drop, which I believe is 40 or 44 or something like that. And then a Time Lost Incubator doesn't really matter whether it's coming from a monster level 68 tier 1 map or a monster level 82 tier 15 map. It'll still have the same possibility of being a Headhunter. So, for that reason, I feel that everything about the League is pushing me to running low tier maps all the time. And this does not remain fun for very long. Especially once I manage to get my character a bit stronger than it currently is, and once I get to the point that I'm able to comfortably complete tier 16 maps. At that point, because the Legion content is so much harder than the rest of the map that you're in, just being able to do tier 16 maps comfortably probably means that you could comfortably do everything to do with the Legion encounters in, say, a tier 8, 9, or 10 map. They feel like they're about 8 zone levels harder than the map that you're in. So in that sense, they're a big jump up on, say, the difficulty of a Breach or an Abyss, which I've always felt that a Breach in a tier 3 map feels about as difficult as the normal content in a tier 8 map. These feel like there's a bigger gap, maybe 8 tiers. So you get to the point that you're comfortably clearing tier 16s, you're able to kill all the Guardians, and then you're going to have you're going to be feeling, oh well, now I want to either be running yellow maps and doing the Legion encounters well, or I'll continue doing red maps and struggling with the Legion encounters. In either case, I don't think that this is a particularly healthy state for the league longer term. I've got a feeling, and I hope to be proven wrong on this, that there's going to be a lot of burnout as people feel that they get sick of the low tier maps, but they can't effectively clear the Legion on higher tier maps. Ultimately, what I think the solution is, and I think that it's probably too late to do it for the Legion League, because it feels really bad when there's major balance changes early in a league. But ultimately, I feel that the solution here is to bring down the difficulty of the Legion encounters relative to the map that they're in, and bring up the difficulty of the map trash itself, so that they're closer to each other. I've felt this been a problem for a while, and I think that Legion League is the worst example of it so far. Anyways, that's my thoughts after not really being able to play a huge amount yet because of all the crashes, and also just not really feeling the build that I started with. If you've got any questions, and certainly if you've got disagreements, like if you think that this is the best league ever, certainly say so below. I feel it's been fun so far, but I feel it's going to have one of the worst examples of remaining fun over time.